life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Batiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789.
What's up, everyone? It's your man, Caitlyn Laws, a.k.a. Senior Wapo, and you're tuned into Society Now. Do me a favor. Go to Instagram, go to Twitter, go to Facebook, and type in these letters. You ready? SENORGUAPO713. We're super excited to join you this October 20. I don't know what it is.
It's 2018, man.
Yeah, I know, but October 20. It's
the 25th. No, 26th because the 25th. Because the 25th was the baby's half birthday.
My son Essex, love you so much. It was his half birthday.
Her birthday yesterday.
Love my daughter too, Eden, so much, and I love this woman next to me, my wonderful co-host. Y'all know who she is.
My baby shoulders.
Your baby shoulder. Hey, let the people know what time it is.
Hello, my name is Kira Laws, and you can follow me on Instagram at @TheModernDayCindy. That's Cindy with the I, not a Y. And I'm happy to be here with you today on this lovely Friday evening. The weather is amazing here in the H, and it is super fall. I mean, actually, I think our weather was amazing earlier this week because it was a lot cooler, but I'm not going to complain about this weather because it has been amazing. And there's so many things that are going on here in Houston, so many things are going on around the country, especially we're in election season. We are in election season, so it's important for you guys to rock the vote, cast your vote if you haven't registered to vote, let me say this. I hope everyone did register to vote in time because this election is way too important for us not to vote. I mean, people from all sides are saying if, in fact, especially persons that believe in the democratic thought process, if they don't feel like it was important enough to register to vote, then they get what that's coming to them. That actually was a quote from someone. It was actually one of the commentators, I think, on Morning Coffee or something like that. They were saying, like, if people don't come out to vote in this election of all elections, then we really are saying we're okay with what's going on in the nation right now. I mean, I don't necessarily agree that everyone that would like to vote can, but I do understand the sentiment there. Like, it's way too important, Caitlyn. It's way too important right now for us not to vote. So if you're registered and you haven't had opportunity to vote, please get out there and vote. I would prefer you to vote early.
I mean,
don't wait till Tuesday and get discouraged by a line.
Especially here in Texas, right?
Vote because early. Get it out the way.
Early voting is from 7 to 7, right? In most
locations.
And what early voting means, and this is around the country, you get to vote anywhere in the county where you're registered, not necessarily where you live, because you may not have, changed your updated your address on your voter registration card. So the county that's on your voter registration card, you can vote. You can vote in any polling station in that county doing early voting. Now, once you get to Super Tuesday, November 6th, at that point you have to go to your designated polling station, right? And then the lines could look like a theme park line, all that kind of deal. So it could be a lot. You just gotta make sure though that you're doing your due diligence, that you're really staying on top of it, because this is a critical
It's
election.
So critical, and we can't tell you who to vote for because of course it's different in every state. No, it's in just every state it is different, but definitely vote. when people say vote your conscience, vote what's going to make the world better.
I'm gonna tell you, I did something I never did before.
You voted what?
I voted straight ticket.
Well, I mean, and I think, and that was your conscience, right? I mean, because
change. We gotta have some change this year, man.
Because we're talking about changing a house. We're talking about changing the Senate. We're talking about changing Congress, and it has to start with changing those persons that are actually in those positions. Because right now, as you all know, both areas are all Republican, right? Or majority Republican. So we need to make those changes. And it's important. I mean, there are people that fought for this right. So please go out there and vote. Again, it doesn't take a lot of time to do it early because it took us maybe less than 5 minutes.
Listen. Especially if you vote straight ticket, you just hit the click and then you go and certify and hit it again.
And make sure. But this is the kicker. I'm gonna say this at caveat: you can vote straight ticket, but make sure you actually look at the propositions at the end of the voting because there are propositions that don't automatically get checked, right? So those things you need to read through, make sure that what you're voting for is going to benefit you and those in your area. Absolutely. So what's going on in the world today? Okay, so I think we talked about this, or maybe we didn't, but did we talk about the fact that somebody actually won the 1.9?
No, I just kind of mentioned it on the Instagram, on the Facebook Live, but yeah,
somebody got that bag.
$6 billion.
Somebody got it. They got it. They did get it, and it
God
wasn't
bless
us.
Your heart and all your parts.
It wasn't us, unfortunately.
If it was, you probably wouldn't be seeing it.
But it's okay.
And it's one of those things that that's how I felt when somebody else won it. I tell you, I was like,
well, I mean, we didn't get in the game though. Like they said, I remember when I was younger and living in New York, they said, it's like the lottery, you got to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
You got to be in it to win it. So if you didn't actually cast your vote, put your numbers down, then how would you expect to win? Listen, you got to put something in. You got to put skin in the game.
Yeah, I got to put some skin in the game. Man.
And I didn't wage anything because I don't have any skin to give right now. I didn't have not a follicle to give, so I was like, let me fall back on this one. Whoever won, God bless them, man.
Yeah,
God bless them. I was do good in the hood,
so
man, because that's a lovely thing, man.
But I tell you what's great about it though, there's this other lotto called the Powerball. It's 3/4 of a billion right now.
It's like 725.
750. It's exactly 3/4 of a billion. 750 million. Listen, I might find some skin this time. You hear me? Lord,
how do we reconcile this money?
So this is what I want y'all to do.
Of money that is coming
right.
forth.
So this is what I want everybody that's listening and watching. This is what I want you to do. I want you to DM me. I want you to let me know. And we're going to read this out next week. I want you to let me know the first 5 things you would do with your winnings.
Absolutely.
Go to Senor Walpo at Senor Walpo 713 or at the Modern Day Cindy with an I, not a Y, and DM us and let us know what you would do. The first 5 things you would do with your lotto winnings. And look here, if it ain't the right thing, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you because. It's one of those things that you just gotta have the right answers.
You gotta have the right answers. So let's talk about having the right answers or let's talk about what's really going on in the world today. Now I noticed, I have been following or not following the news because I really don't watch the news on television like I should. I shouldn't say like I should because I do get the news and all the highlights of the news daily on my phone because that's just the easiest way for me to read it. For me to sit down and watch television to watch the news it does kind of slow me down. So I do get the news daily on my phone. And I was informed that we were talking about a little what's her name, Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Megyn Kelly has gotten the boot. And some people would say it was high time. She has been noted to have said some really off-kilter things since she's been on the network, in the network, as part of the network. And a lot of people have still had some animosity toward her. When she started that position, I think she was she's part of the reason I think that Tamron Hall is no longer with the network. She left the network when she saw that there was some scheduling issues with where they were placing Megyn Kelly in terms of where they were with Tamron Hall's segment on television. And I think didn't bring Megyn Kelly over from Fox or something like that. And so, her brand didn't necessarily resonate with a lot of people on this particular network on NBC. And she said, like I said, she's been known to say some off-kilter things, but the most recent thing she said said was the blackface comment.
Right.
Now, this is the same person I think last year she talked about saying that she wanted to let the kids know that Jesus and Santa Claus were white, and that not to change that. We shouldn't be trying to change that discussion. I just thought it was interesting that it took them to get to this place for the blackface comment that really got her booted off.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that.
So this is my question. I want to be angel advocate on this one. Are we being too sensitive?
No. And let me tell you why.
Wait, that was too easy.
No, let me tell you why I don't think it's being too sensitive. I think it's important for everybody to be sensitive to the things that we know have hurt persons of different colors. You know what I mean? Not just black people, but people of color, period. You know, and it has nothing to do with just being in the United States, just in general. Blackface was not something that was supposed to be applauded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It definitely was derogatory,
It was.
and for you to think that it would come without any a pushback or blowback, that unfortunately was her privilege speaking for her, but in the wrong way.
Yeah.
For her to think that comment would have been okay.
And I heard some commentary regarding this whole situation, and it made a good point. Charlamagne the God made a good point. He said that it's if it's in the context of a costume, or you're trying to be not even a costume, a character, right? If you're trying to then it becomes somewhat, I guess, a bit more acceptable. If you're trying to be, Michael Jackson, well, maybe that's not a good excuse, a good one. But if you're trying to be, I don't know, Wesley Snipes or somebody like that, at that point it becomes a bit more acceptable. But when you're just blatantly saying that there's nothing wrong with it, not having any kind of sensitivity, and it's not like she wasn't a journalist either, right? It's not like she's not used to doing research and she can't go off and read some things and look at some things. Like, do your homework. I tell you, some people call this a hypersensitive society, but I'm not sure if we are. But I'm glad that these things are being brought to light. I'm glad that these things are happening to the point where folks are really holding people accountable. And some people saying this is all coming out in the wash. Now, she is going to get the rest of her, I think it's $69 million salary. But it's one of those. It's one of those things.
That's where the real privilege comes in, because you get to keep your bag. $69 million.
Well, legally,
that was the contract, and I get that, but I know that and I'm putting on another hat, but I know that a lot of places, like if you do something and it's written into the contract, some issues, some moral issues, some things like that, some what they can deem as a moral issue or the character issues, that you may not be able to retain that. So the fact that her situation allows her to keep her $69 million, I'm not gonna hate on your $69 million. That you're set. That's good. You're set. But for most people, that wouldn't be the case. So listen, it's just to note.
She's getting her $69 million. Fam in South Carolina grossed his $1.6 billion.
Was it 1.6 or 1.9?
It's 1.6. Okay. 1.6 billion. Well, maybe you just have $57,000 that you make a year. You may need a little help managing that. Well, this portion of the show is sponsored by the Houston Housewives of Finance.
Come on, Housewives.
Did you know that only 4 states in the U.S. offer financial education? 33% or more than 77 million Americans don't pay the bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they do not have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@HoustonHousewivesOfFinance.com. Ask how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial services.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, get your coin together. Get your coin together. And I love what's been going on Facebook Live. Yes, y'all are right. You know, it's a bad thing. Some black people are so uncomfortable with their skin that they do bleach their skin.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that we are still dealing with that.
The
stigmatized about our
skin.
melanin, and there's people all over the world that want to have the shade of color that we are. So, you know, it's unfortunate that we're having this conversation even now. I mean, and you're right, absolutely right, that people there's some people she's just not sensitive to the needs of the persons, or even sensitive to, I guess, but you know, that who watches her show, so maybe demographically she was speaking to her audience, and
right.
you know, and that works in a lot of networks. It just doesn't work for NBC.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work for NBC. Coming from Fox, they probably would have worked, but you know, she's gone. So
and again, I don't.
There's a lesson to be learned for all you journalists out there. Be careful.
No, be careful and be sensitive.
Yeah,
right? Because I mean, because we're
careful.
definitely having a conversation about what not to do. So you know, so it's no knock on her per se. It's just more of what you should not do. Okay, now moving right along, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund tells Florida schools to stop policing black hair. An investigation launched by the Huffington Post found that at least 20% of private schools participating in Florida's Hope Scholarship Program have hair policies that adversely affect African Americans. And why is that, you all? Why is that? Because we have to do other things with our hair. We just can't, you know, a lot of times we just can't wash and go. Many of us can't wash and go. Now, granted, African American hair is so diverse, right? I mean, none of us really have the same unique texture of hair. Our hair is just so different. And so, yes, we do twist our hair. Some people lock their hair. Some people do braids. And, of course, we have versatility. Most times, especially for young women or young ladies or little girls, our hairstyles will not be the same every day. And that's because, again, our hair texture is so different that we have to manage it differently daily. And I think it's really good that the NAACP, the Defense Fund, is like, hey, you targeting these kids in these private schools that won't allow them to get these scholarships because of their hair. Is that not like discriminatory on so many levels? Their hair now, I guess they feel like they have a leg to stand on because we, you know, last year and the year before last, we had that,
yes, in 2016,
that Supreme Court ruling about hair at the workplace. And again, I felt like that was wholly inappropriate because again, we are not the same as some of our peers and our cohorts and our, you know, our colleagues, our contemporaries. You know, our hair situation is totally different, and it seems like many African Americans have to adjust the hair conversation to fit where they're working. And I know I had personal issues with this in my professional career. And I really didn't even feel comfortable enough to talk about it to superiors or to HR because I'm like, I shouldn't have to have this conversation about my hair.
Yeah.
I can't participate in your activity because I don't want to get my hair wet, but why should I have to tell you that? So what do you think about that?
Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, white-splaining our hair is something that I think we shouldn't have to do.
Okay.
And that's really what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Stop. They're saying policing, and that's one clap the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, because shout out to them for standing up for our babies, man.
Because they don't need to be stressed. These are maybe stressed out behind hair at such a young age.
And so, you know, it's one of those things that it's very unfortunate, and I think the law and policy, they fail to acknowledge cultural differences.
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm not necessarily going to say it's the law's job to acknowledge those, but it's those who are enforcing the laws, right? Who are adjudicating these laws, you know, to read between the lines and make sure that we know what's going on, right? And that it's applied fairly. And that's the problem. Yes, you know, the Supreme Court decision happened in 2016 that said, you know, that you cannot be hired and or you can be fired based upon your hair, and that set a precedent for the workplace. And they're probably looking at trying to have some slippery slope of things, trying to do. Trying to go with kids in school, but it's frustrating because culturally, as you said, forget culturally, biologically, physiologically, our hair is different.
It's just different, and we didn't choose our hair.
And just like they didn't choose theirs. So don't punish us. It has nothing to do with your skill. It has nothing to do with any of that. And so it's blatantly discriminatory. And I tell you, some of the stuff that I'm trying to say is actually being said on Facebook right now.
Absolutely.
And we want to talk to our Facebook Live family and ask that you subscribe to our show on all the major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher, and review our show on iTunes with constructive feedback. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends, and donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate at www.thesphere.tv/donate. Shout out to Brandy Miss B Brown. Shout out to Reginald Brown, Artist Walker. We appreciate you guys
Y'all
being
keep
so
listening too.
Connected with us today on live. Go hit subscribe so you'll get a notification when the rest of the show goes live here in a few days. We'll talk to you soon. But yeah,
I want to continue this conversation because I can tell you my personal story.
Yeah.
You know it, but having to like work in corporate America and know that although we have all of these federal laws that are anti-discriminatory, our hair is on trial. How we choose to wear our hair is on trial. Not necessarily the color of our hair, the style of the hair. I can understand you saying like, I don't think it's appropriate to wear green, purple, pink hair. But I realized though, at my later days working at corporate America, that those colors were definitely not on the table of discussion because I started seeing more people who did not look like me color their hair all these wild colors. But for me, I noticed that braiding the hair was an issue, and having conversations about, oh my gosh, your hair is different today, like versus it was different today versus another day. And it is as a woman, hair has always been a conversation with women. If not, we wouldn't have a whole industry dedicated to hair care for women. We wouldn't have that. But as an African American woman, it's even the more stressful because you're thinking about constantly. Well, I know I was, and maybe other people don't care. I cared. I'm constantly thinking about what can I do for myself, make changes for myself. What things can I implement for myself that won't go under scrutiny when I get to work on Monday, or if I wanted to go do something different on, you know what I mean? So, like, I wear my hair natural, but I don't necessarily wear my hair natural to work because I don't want anybody to feel comfortable enough to have a conversation about my hair. Like, it's just not, it's unfortunate that we live in a society that we just cannot just wake up, shake it and go, but we have to be constantly, I guess, contouring or, ourselves to whatever this corporate dilemma is. So I don't know. There's just a lot to that. I wish I could get my producer in on this conversation, but for sure, this hair thing, it's so much, and it's crazy. So I just say stop policing our differences. I mean, seriously, like creating a scholarship that has a hair policy that's discriminatory to African Americans is just not fair. And especially when we're not always in a position to change our hair in the ways that are acceptable because, hair costs money. And that's the end of that conversation. It costs money. Now, another little crazy thing that's been going on in the news, and I just say it is crazy, is these package bombs. Package bombs, y'all. Now, I have not been on this earth long enough to have seen the civil rights movement and all that, but I know I've seen a lot of stressors. I've seen a lot of things that would have been considered stressful for those who have come before us. And to know that someone during an election season, and I got to put out that this is an election season, is using bombs and they're bombing political figures who have had strong opinions against our current administration. I feel like it's just dangerous. It's a dangerous time. I know these packages are coming from Florida. Apparently, they said they arrested someone in connection to these potential bombs. But I just think it's sad that, people have to be worried about having an actual opinion about what they think about what's going on in our administration, that they have to worry about their lives. I don't think that that's the America that, people fought for. I don't think that's what the Constitution stands on. I think that we all have a right for, freedom of choice, freedom of liberty, freedom of speech, to be able to share our thoughts and our views. That's the reason why we have political parties. That's the reason why we have differences of opinion. That's the reason why we're all individuals. But again, to know that your life is a threat so much so that somebody would try to harm you or harm your family member. I just think that it's so sad, and I wish we can get to a place in our country that we don't have to worry about lives being ended because someone takes it upon themselves to make decisions about whether your life is worth it because you have an opinion that doesn't match their opinion. I think that that's where issues really do arise that makes it uncomfortable for us to unify as a nation. It's a sad day when you wake up to hear so many people, and I can't even imagine being in their position. Senator Booker, Senator Maxine Waters, the Obamas. I mean, just a list on. Actors, things like that, like people who have had an opinion about our current administration are now worried about their life or concerned about their life. Like, I don't even know, like, what's that about? Why did we get here? How did we get here? How did we get to a place where we're constantly at odds with one another to the point that lives have to be lost? Is this the America that we want to live in? America that you have to worry about your life because you have an opinion against our current administration that people are bombing or trying to bomb?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's an unfortunate reality of the political times that we're in, of the administration that we're currently under right now, and it's really tragic and it's terrible because these are our leaders, right? These are the folks who have been at the helm of government for us for a number of years and or are at the helm of government, and no one is safe. That's really the scary part for me, right? That no matter what level of success you reach, no matter how much political power and clout you have, any of those things, you know what I'm saying? It's no one is really safe, and I tell you, it's very unfortunate that this is the case. It's just very, 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 very unfortunate that this is the case. I tell you, and so I tell you, I'm at a loss for words. I really am at a loss for words in that I can't believe it's happening. You know what I'm saying? And so, but we're gonna keep it pushing and keep it moving here really quickly. Google CEO admits company had a sexual harassment problem and says it fired 48 employees for sexual misconduct. Right? Y'all heard that? There's a sexual harassment problem at Google and they fired 48 employees. How is sexual harassment part of your company culture? That's terrible. That's terrible. It goes on to say that the CEO, whose name is Scholar Pinchai, sent an email to employees in response to a report in the New York Times about sexual misconduct at the company. Pinchai says 48 employees have been terminated for sexual misconduct in the last 2 years. Everything isn't great in Silicon Valley, right? It's very interesting because we're on the backs of this here Me Too movement, and it's a very, very powerful movement, and I think it's very, very relevant in today's time, especially as I get older and as I become a father. But to know that one of the largest and most impactful, arguably, not the most, but one of the most impactful corporations in the world, considering this .com boom, this digital age that we're in, Google has now become not only the name of a company, but it's a verb, right? Go Google it. It's interesting to see that this is being happening, and it just lets you know that, again, no one is exempt. No level of success is exempt from people doing wrong. Now, the interesting thing about sexual misconduct, I wonder why. Because, Kira and I, we talk about not necessarily why, but what the infractions are. Because Kira and I, we talk about this quite significantly. And that's sexual misconduct is a very, very broad term. Sexual harassment is they're very, very broad terms legally, right? I could walk up to someone and put my hand on their shoulders and say, hey, how you doing? Or trying to get their attention, and they could feel uncomfortable with that. But because I made an unwelcome advance, whether it was sexual or not, putting my hand on their shoulder, that can happen. And it may seem extreme, right? But it's just the God's honest truth. It's just the God's honest truth about what that is. And so we have to be careful when you're at the workplace, man. Just leave folk alone. Just go to your desk, eat your cheese sandwich on your 15-minute break. You know what I'm saying? Log in, clock in, whatever anything you do online, do it on your phone now, and just keep everything work related, because there's too much at stake and too many things to lose that could just listen. You lose your job, you lose your money, and you lose your benefits. And if you lose your benefits, you can't go to the dentist. And you won't be able to holler at the folks who are sponsoring this portion of the show. And that's Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We are committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry and continuing education and friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are part of our family. Now, dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Batiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make sure you book your appointment today with Dr. Ashandra Batiste at Elite Dental Wellness by calling 713-789-8680. You pearly whites, baby. So, but seriously, this whole sexual harassment, sexual misconduct thing is something that we have to be careful with in the workplace, because again, it's tragic, it's terrible that Google over the past 2 years, they fired. It's terrible, and it's, I guess, good at the same time, because they took care of it, fired 48 employees for sexual misconduct. But at the same time, case by case, was there an actual sexual advance made? Obviously I don't know, but there's a lesson to be learned for anyone that's listening, who's young, who's new in their career, or for those of you who have children who are budding professionals and about to enter their career, or they're working and they're 15 years old and having their first high school job or what have you. Talk to them about what that really looks like, because again, it could be something as simple as putting your hand on someone's shoulder, right? It could be something as simple as a good morning hug, and they had a bad day or had a fight. The person that was hugged had a bad day or a fight with the person that they love, or something traumatic happened in their childhood, and a fragrance could have reminded them of someone who used to abuse them, and then it can just go downhill quickly from there. And so you just really have to be careful with this sexual harassment and sexual misconduct thing, Kira.
And it's so crazy because, like you mentioned, that sexual misconduct or sexual harassment, again, it is, although there is some overarching, we know things that definitely qualifies as sexual harassment. There are some very, like you said, there's some very
some gray areas.
Gray areas where something could be genuinely not meant to be offensive, but because of a person and the timing of it, it could just totally go the wrong way. So again, when you're at work, go to work. And I also want to say this, because of this, many companies have taken the extra step of having these consensual agreements at work when you are in a relationship, or when you are actually dating on a job, or when you have agreed that all these things. And I think it's wise for companies to do this, because there are some times when people are like, okay, hey, we're going to hang out. We've been hanging out for a while. We're just friends. But that friendship has evolved to something more sexual, or something has evolved into a sexual relationship. Without that agreement, it could potentially look really bad. So I think it's wise that companies do enforce these consensual agreements, because dating on the job or having a fling with someone on a job without evidence that it was consensual, it could possibly go wrong real quickly. So definitely, there's a lot of things that are evolving legally because of this Me Too movement.
Even if companies don't go to the constituent agreement form, right? You and I, we had a situation with an organization that we worked with. They needed to go to the board and talk it out themselves, because they wanted to make sure
it was okay for us to work here.
Because we're spouses. You know what I'm saying?
We were married, and I don't know what they thought we were going to do, but whatever it was, we got approval. We just could never really work. Well, we worked together technically. We were in the
same department.
There
a wall between our rooms. And
I don't
everything.
know if they thought.
But not even what they thought. I get it.
I get it because
I get it from an indemnity and a protection standpoint.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so, for those business owners, if you don't feel comfortable with the whole agreement thing, at least check the folks' relationships and make sure that it's not going to hurt business and or your current employees and people that you service.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just wise. Now let's look at this. Okay, so Topshop, one of our favorite places.
Yeah.
Topshop actually,
Philip Green.
Philip Green, the billionaire owner of Topshop, is also at the center of a Me Too scandal. So it's not just Google, y'all. Now it's not just technology. It's clothes too. Okay. Green tried to stop the press from publishing reports of harassment claims against him. So now the shoppers, because he tried to hide it, the shoppers are calling for a boycott of Topshop. Now I am a business professional, and I feel like I understand. We've seen this happen, especially in this past year or so. We've seen where CEOs, face people from companies are asked to step down, or people say start boycotting the company because they don't agree with the person. So we saw it with the Uber case. We've seen it with other cases where people are like so upset with the person that they try to boycott the business. Let's be mindful of. I get the whole make the person pay, but also understand that person is not representative of all people in the organization. So when you start talking about boycotting businesses, think about the persons that are actually working there that may not even be involved in the situation, may not have no clue about what's going on, right? So when we start doing these things, I'm not saying you don't have a right to boycott, and I'm not saying that you can't definitely take a stand, but also know that boycott may not affect the person that you think is going to affect, the CEO who's a billionaire, but it definitely can affect those who are working in that company, in that organization,
the average Joe,
the average person, or your kids or somebody like that might actually be needing that job to get through school or whatever. So we have to figure out ways to organize in business that against businesses or against persons in situations like this that impact can be felt swiftly. And it doesn't necessarily have to. There shouldn't be any. I really don't like the idea of collateral damage. You know what I mean? Like, some collateral. I just don't like that. And I maybe it's just me being sensitive. But I'm like, when we start boycotting the business itself, that person that's already there may not be affected, but the people that work there are actually affected. So it's something to think about.
What I'm wondering when I was reading the article, it did not say was whether or not it said for harassment allegations, right? Or sexual misconduct allegations, right? I mean, it didn't say that it was something that happened and he was convicted.
Yeah, he didn't want, it wasn't a conviction. It was like he just didn't want anybody in the press to run any stories about the harassment claims against him.
Right. So my thing to that is,
I get that.
I get that because if it was never substantiated, what's the point? You understand what I'm saying?
But I guess but this is the thing. I think that what he knows, and unfortunately, which has been a trend, is that a lot of times in these situations, you are guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And so just the claim alone is enough for people to be like, okay, you don't seem like a good guy, regardless of whether you have proof or not.
True.
And that goes back to the climate that we're in as a business. As a country. Right. As a country right now, our climate is very sensitive to any type of not saying this Me Too allegations, sexual misconduct on any level. We are very sensitive about it. There are some times where the sensitivity actually shows up, and we are totally against it. Like, for instance, him, as a business owner. But but the flip of that is, and I'm not going to be petty, but I'm going to say this: we don't see it all the time. So we seen it with him as a business owner. He knows what's at stake, but we didn't see it with the Supreme Court justice thing, and we did not see it with certain areas of industry where we would think that it would be more impactful. And I think that just speaks to what's happening in our, like I said, the theme that's happening throughout. Like,
there's no consistency.
It's not consistent. Yeah. And so I think that's what the real conversation is. How do we get consistency when it comes to how we address this, so that everyone, not necessarily everyone get the result that they want, but we can see it being handled in a manner that people can say, okay, well, I know that it was adjudicated the right way. Not even say adjudicated, because everything doesn't have to go to court, but whatever that looks like. So, but with that being said, if you have, these type of opinions and you want to share them as well, remember that this is an awesome place to do that, right? So this portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States, as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. Again, the number is 832-772-7789 or email us at advertise@thesphere.tv. Look forward to hearing from you.
Listen. It's
Listen.
a dope place to get your stuff advertised. I'd use it.
You should. You definitely should. But yeah, so it's interesting that again, I don't think he was wrong with not wanting that story to leak if in fact hasn't been substantiated, if it's just a claim. But then, again, we're seeing just a part of it. It's just unfortunate that the bigger question, is the boycott because he didn't want it to be in the press, or is the boycott is because we actually believe that it happened? Like that, what I'm saying? So before this thing spreads, let's figure out why we're boycotting. Are we just boycotting because it was claimed that he did something, or are we boycotting because he didn't want to have it in the news? And I mean, we have to, I don't know, we all share some responsibility for how we're now handling this. We can't throw everyone on the stake, off of
an allegation or a claim.
Right. We
also have to do our due diligence in digging into the allegations and
Absolutely.
claims. So it's a fine line.
It's a very fine line. Now, this is interesting right here in Houston. Bloomberg reports that Houston has a $6 billion census problem. What do I mean when I say that? So census comes 2020, right?
Every 10 years.
Every 10 years. And was it 10 or 20 years?
10.
10 years? It's been so long.
Every 10 years.
Every 10 years. And so here in Houston, there's some conversations around what can business owners and city officials do to get persons here in Houston to actually participate in the census that's coming up. The reason why this is a big conversation is a lot of persons that are young professionals actually do have family members that are living with them that are undocumented. And because of the fear of what's been going on, the fear of deportation, all of that stuff, that they're like, I'm not going to report in the census this year because when it comes, because I don't want to put my family at risk.
Falsely report, yeah.
Or falsely report because that's a government document. So it's just better for me just not to report at all.
Right.
This problem could cost the city $6 billion. So the mayor here in Houston, Texas was like, we need to figure out a way to encourage people to report on the census, but at the same time, what can we do to insulate them from the fear of deportation? Because here in Houston, like many cities, but specifically here in Houston, we do have a very diverse population here. Everyone in Houston, of course, is not undocumented. All the persons here that are outside of Houstonians or outside of the U.S. are not necessarily undocumented. But the issue is that it's such a mix, and the families here are very protective about those that they're caring for. It's $6 billion.
Yeah,
$6 billion.
And it's a shame because you have to look at this, right? When you look at Houston Independent School District, which is the seventh largest school district in the country, and it's over 60% Latino, right? It's been said that over half of those students live with someone who may be undocumented, whether it's a parent or a grandparent, or they were birthed here, but their parents came over here 25, 30 years ago,
Absolutely.
right? And so they're citizens here, 16, 17, 15, 12, whatever, 8, 9, and their parents are not. And so it's one of those things that there's a far-reaching, there's so many different cases for somebody being undocumented. Secondly, getting your papers is extremely expensive, right? It's very, very expensive. It's a long process.
A lot of people need sponsorship.
Yeah, it's a difficult test that you and I would have a hard time, and we were 100% born in these states. We would have a hard time passing, right? The immigration test I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving the reality of it. And the reason why it could cost, one of the reasons why it could cost the city $6 billion is because of tax revenue.
Yeah.
Tax revenue, and also federal funds and bonds and government funding that can come from Washington and or Austin to the city, right? Based upon infrastructure,
based upon the amount of people that they say are here.
Exactly, because the infrastructure is built because of the amount of people that live here. The school systems get money because of the amount of people that live in the districts. Your taxes are levied in part by the amount of people that live in your neighborhood and or your zip code. So it's one of those things that it's a very expensive problem monetarily, but socially it's even more expensive in that the human. So it's interesting because for me, I really didn't care much about immigration until 2010 when we began working at an organization who serviced a lot of non-nationals, right? And then the location where we worked was the most diverse
in the
part
city.
of the country, part of diverse neighborhood in the country. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the country. That 12 square miles called Gulfton, over 60 languages were spoken in that 12 square miles, right? And so then I started, I started putting a face with immigration, the faces of our students, the faces of the people that we worked with and worked.
It's not what you think.
It is just not what you think, and the narrative about crime and all that the right is putting out is so false and is so far from the truth. There's no FBI data that supports anything saying that immigrants are performing more crimes. In fact, white folks are. The FBI data says that. Now it could be a per capita thing, and that's a different conversation. And I'm sorry I'm nerding out, but this is the other side of me. But it's one of those things that it's an expensive problem fiscally, yes, for the city of Houston, for Los Angeles, for Phoenix, for a lot of our, for San Diego, a lot of the border towns, Houston being one of them. I can imagine how expensive it would be for Brownsville or Laredo.
Yeah.
Or imagine. El Paso.
Yeah.
But socially it's equally as expensive.
And it like I said, when I was reading about it, the young lady that she was 21 years old, she was like, she is a citizen because of course she was born here, but her undocumented relatives are not the case. And I'm sure they're talking about her parentals and somebody else, but it's unfortunate because I'm just shocked that they even printed her name. And I just, it's just crazy. But again, it's
a common name. So
yeah.
Anna Espinosa. So I mean,
it could be a lot of,
it could be like looking for Mike Carter.
Right. That's true. True that. But hopefully, between now and then, hopefully we come to some resolution about immigration in the United States. Hopefully that we'll stop throwing the deportation threats out.
Yeah.
And it's because some of the people that we're saying trying to push out of the country are people that are very helpful for our commerce.
For sure. And it's interesting because shout out to Mayor Sylvester Turner is the mayor of Houston, because he and a number of different mayors all across the country, the mayor of Cleveland, or Cincinnati rather, mayor in Atlanta, Los Angeles, Boston, a lot of mayors echoed his sentiment and said the same thing when the current administration said that, when they tried to pull funding, said they were going to pull funding from what they call sanctuary cities, which is a city that doesn't necessarily police undocumented folks. Like, these mayors rather, were going around saying we're not knocking on doors, we're not using our police force to knock on doors to try to find undocumented people.
Yeah.
When there's been no history of them causing any harm to our cities, right? And just for those of you who are listening, it is absolutely untrue that the whole tax argument is not fully accurate, right? It's absolutely untrue that undocumented folks don't pay taxes.
And of course, because even the fact that they buy in the city that they are, that's a part of taxes.
Sales
too.
taxes.
But let's just go back to the beginning. We are of a country of immigrants.
Yeah.
No one in this country was, not very. We are a country of immigrants. Everybody that came here, we came here. There was only one particular group that was already here. So we are a country of immigrants. So we have to be really careful how we throw around this immigration conversation. We're really safe.
We got to be careful about who we support too.
Yeah, we have to be careful about it all. But the other side, because listen, Caitlyn Jenner, y'all know Caitlyn.
Formerly Bruce
Jenner, formerly
the
Wheaties box, the Olympian, said that he said his support of President Trump was a mistake. He's saying this now because he realizes that, or he says that, she says that that the conversation has shifted. initially the thought was if I support the president, I can actually start bringing the conversation and some enlightenment about what's going on in my world,
in the trans world,
right? LGBTQ, because the thought was that this particular group, the Republican Party, I'm guessing is what Caitlyn was referencing, didn't have any connection to it or not enough to it to be able to support some of the things that they need. Well, the realization just came about that I made a mistake. Because this particular party is trying to roll back all the progress that we've had recently. And because of that, pretty much, I'm sorry. I thought my support was going to help make change, but I see that the change is not happening, so I should not have supported. What does that mean? What does that mean?
So I appreciate, I'm going to put my hand on my head.
Caitlyn.
I appreciate Caitlyn's apology. I do.
Mm-hmm.
People, and I don't fault people for making a mistake, right? People genuinely may have felt for whatever reason that he was the right candidate, or that they could, some kind of way, and I'll give them that.
And I think it's the celebrity part,
right? I think that it's just. So typically, I'm like what I just said, but it's just when someone runs on vitriol.
Yeah.
Hate, degradation, despondency. When someone runs on all of these kinds of things, runs smear campaigns, and does the bait and switch, and has proven themselves to be inept at the job prior to even getting the job, that's why I'm like I appreciate your apology, but I still don't get how you felt like you could support this cat.
Well,
not necessarily you can be an ambassador for the LGBTQ community to whoever's in office.
True that.
So let's get the right person in office.
Absolutely.
And then be the ambassador for your community, whether you're Black, Latino, LGBTQ, Native American, whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? The disabled community, veteran, it doesn't matter, right? Any special population, you can still be an ambassador to whomever's in there. So I just don't understand why people had to feel like they had to support Trump to do it.
I don't know, and I think
it's beyond me.
It is beyond me as well, and I don't know why that's the case, but it is interesting, and it is so sad because again, I think of many of the people who have supported, who have entertained, have a conversation, who all the things that that have come up, during the past few years, they really did it with earnest intent. I really feel like they really wanted to be part of the bridge. They wanted. I want to build a bridge to communicate the right things, but again, I think timing is one thing, but also wisdom. You have to exercise wisdom. So again, proud of Caitlyn for making that, being very vocal about that was a mistake
for sure
on the Caitlyn's behalf. That doesn't necessarily mean that a person may not, because all the things that everyone's doing, they might just be laying the groundwork for someone to actually come back and actually make the change that's necessary. So who knows? But let's end the show with talking about something I think is a real positive. And it's about rapper Lil Mo. She actually raps and sings. A lot of people don't know Lil Mo sings, but she does a little singing.
She's a crazy vocalist. She's really, really dope.
Really vocalist. Yeah. Really great vocalist.
From Baltimore.
And she has a beautiful voice, but she said it's time for her to go to law school.
I love it. One clap for Lil Mo. I love it. I love it.
And so she's going to become a lawyer. And she said this is the decision she's been wanting to make for a very long time, so up in age now, and not because of the age thing, but more of a decision, this is something I've always wanted to do. For everybody out there that can identify with this, if you ever have something that you've always wanted to do, this is a great time to do it. There's no time like the present. Try something new, try something you've always wanted to do. It's not going to hurt you to go out there and do it. Of course, stuff that I'm going to say not even realistic, because what's realistic nowadays? But go out there and, swing your bat, shoot your shot, do whatever you have to do. But make sure that I guess you say leave nothing on the table.
Yeah.
When it's time for you to check out, make sure you did it all, everything you want to do. So I'm proud of her as a entertainer. I'm proud of her. Lil Mo is an amazing vocalist. And so I'm really excited for her career. I'm excited about what she's about to do. I'm sure she's probably going to give law school a great run, and she's probably going to be one heck of an attorney. So I can't wait to see that come to pass.
Yeah, no, agree. And it's really, really dope because she's only Well, Lil Mo is 40 years old.
Okay, come on now.
She's only 40 years old, so she has a lot. I just looked it up. She'll be 40 on November 19th.
Okay.
So I just looked it up, and so she's the Grammy nominated. She's been on Grammy nominated hits. Singer songwriter, been active since 1998. Lil Mo has 5 kids.
I knew that. So let me clear something up.
she's
She's
trying
not a
to-
rapper. She's a singer. So I said
Yeah.
rapper, but I meant to say singer. But I remember she did have a lot of kids. She has a lot of kids, and so does some other people out there too.
Yeah. She got a lot of kids, and so which
was
is
beautiful.
fine. It's beautiful. 'Cause,
Beautiful.
We love our children.
Yeah.
But she has an example to set that you can do more, and that we're not. I think a larger conversation, and we've heard this said quite frequently, is we're not monolithic.
Okay.
Don't just make me one thing. Don't just make Kira an attorney. You're a lot
Right.
more, right?
Yeah.
Don't just make me a guy, an educator. I'm a lot more. Don't just keep Lil Mo in terms of singing, right? She's a lot more. She's an talented, intelligent individual. So I was trying to look up if she'd already gone to college or not. I couldn't find anything so quickly. But regardless, she knows what it's going to take to get this, and I support it, man.
Absolutely.
It's so
I
dope.
think that's a great time. Like I said, no time like the present to start doing things that's on your list. You don't have to necessarily be a certain age, but you can definitely get it done. I think it's beautiful. I'm excited for her.
And I misspoke. I said she was from Baltimore. She's actually from Long Island.
Come on, girl.
She's
on,
an
girl.
around the way girl.
She's around the way,
Shout
girl.
out to
Come
Lil
on,
Mo.
girl.
Yeah, man.
Do your thing, girl.
So this has been a fun, busy, crazy episode.
Absolutely.
But I think we want to thank all of you guys for tuning into us each and every week. Again, my name is Caitlyn Laws, a.k.a. Senor Wapo. You can find me on all social media outlets by typing. You ready? Get ready. SENORGUAPO713. We'll see you next time.
And you can follow me on Instagram at the Modern Day Cindy. Not so live. Cindy with an I, not a Y. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done.
See you
Society Now. We'll see y'all.
See you.